Are you thinking about buying a home in Chattanooga but don't know where to start?
Well, we're gonna show you the steps on how to get there. Huh? Huh?
Buying a house is easier than that.
Chattanooga real estate couple. We sell houses.
So step one is finding trusted realtors like us.
So when you team up with realtors like Jess and I, and all of our experience of 14 years, you get focus.
And you get 2 dedicated agents that are great at communicating so you know the next steps and can feel good about the process along the way.
Step 2, getting in touch with your lender. Even if it's just that initial conversation, it is an extremely important step.
When talking to the lender, it's really important to learn about the different financing options they offer. You can learn more about the down payment, if there's any down payment assistance that you qualify for, closing costs, and learn about your credit score. Some things they can give you are some tips and tricks to put yourself in a better buying position.
So it's important to remember that closing costs are different than down payment. Down payment is applied to the loan and the mortgage itself. Closing costs are the loan processing fees.
Step 3. Oh, it's just a few little steps. Has she actually seen these steps yet? It's ridiculous.
Step 3. This is the fun part where we get to look at houses.
Now that you've spoken with your lender and you've gotten pre-approved and figured out your budget, the next thing is to figure out your timeline.
Why it's so important to know about the timeline is from contract to close, it's about 30 days. So we always like to work backwards from that. For example, if you have a lease, we always recommend starting 2 months before your lease ends. That gives us enough time to find a home and then get you under contract and close before your lease is up.
Another thing about timeline is if you're selling your house as well in the process. When that house has been marketed, if it's under contract, things to discuss with your realtor, but those are all things that are within the timeline that come up in conversation once you find that.
We also want to know about what your wants and needs are. Things that you need are obviously rooms for your family. Wants are more of a preference, like if you wanted a fence for your dog. But those are always things that you can build in later and are not needs.
The biggest wants and needs are the bedrooms and bathrooms, and location, of course.
And then different ways that we can look for homes for you are obviously online in our MLS, but we also like to network with people in our area to see if there's anything off market that we can find for you before it goes on the market.
So once you start finding houses that meet your preferences, that's the fun part. We get to go see them, especially because there's 2 of us. We can easily fit into your schedule and your needs as well.
I think that's it.
Oh, Chattanooga real estate couple.
Step 4, you've reached the top, making an offer. Discuss the terms within that offer with your real estate agent. Once you have the terms nailed down, you then have the real estate agent run comps to make sure that you have the fair market value so that's comparable to whatever offer you're making. You're comfortable with that offer purchase price, and then you submit that offer.
A couple important things to also do. Depending if it's a competitive market for that house, you can talk to the listing agency or any important terms that's good for the sellers. If it's not as competitive, it's something we can discuss is if we want seller concession towards closing costs versus purchase price. If you get $10,000 seller concession towards buyer's closing costs, that's $10,000 less you have to bring to closing, which you can use towards new furniture or new appliances. You can decide. Okay, all right, I think we're good, right? Oh my gosh, look at Dad with their jacket.
It's like I'm going to a softball game.
Step 5. Now that you're under contract, let's talk about contingencies. Wait, where's Patrick? Oh my gosh. Now that you're in a contract, there's 3 huge milestones from contract to close. Those are 3 contingencies, which is the inspection, the appraisal, and the financing.
Whoa! Cool!
So the inspection contingency is usually between 5 to 10 days, depending on the home. The most typical inspections are the home and termite, but of course the inspection company offers different services that you can chat with them to see what else fits your needs. An appraiser will come in and assess what the value of the home is. Your goal is to make sure that it appraises for the purchase price or more. If it appraises for more, that means you get instant equity in the home. If it happens to come in less, obviously the lender's not going to give you more money than the house is worth, and then you can go back to the seller and negotiate again. And the last one is the financing contingency. Obviously, don't go buy a boat, a new car, or affect the debt to income ratio with the lender, or you can lose that financing. With any of those contingencies, if we aren't able to negotiate repairs after the inspection, or if the seller's not willing to drop the purchase price to the appraised value, or if something happens with the financing, you are able to back out of the contract and get your earnest money back. But if you make it all the way to closing, the earnest money that you do pay up front goes towards your cash to close.
So during the under contract period, there are some upfront costs to anticipate. Your earnest money deposit, that's typically due to either title or your brokerage. You'll want to talk to your realtor within 3 to 5 days, depending on the contract terms. Then for the inspection, you want to see which inspection company fits your needs and their different options. That typically ranges from about $500–600, depending on what kind of test you're doing with the inspection itself. Base inspection is around $400 to $600, give or take. For the appraisal, it typically ranges from about $400 to $500, and the lender will order that for you.
Okay, step 6, the final step of the home buying process. Right before closing, we'll make sure that you have the utilities scheduled to be turned on in your name the day of closing and to have your new address set up with the post office. We will also do a final walkthrough to make sure the home is in the same condition as you first saw it and that all repairs are done. We'll also get the closing disclosure from title. They'll show the exact numbers and what you'll need to wire to them. And we highly recommend to call the title company before you send any money to avoid wire fraud. And then at closing, you'll be signing a lot of documents, of course, become the new homeowners.
Chattanooga real estate couple. We sell houses,